So a lot of you have probably seen these machines. This is a mulching machine that mounts on the front of a skid steer. And so it's missing some pieces, so you probably don't recognize it, but you can kind of tell this is the arm where you push the trees and so forth. And this normally has a cover on it. This is where the belt is that runs the drum head. And so basically you have a big drum in here that has teeth all over it. I have no idea how many. If I had to guess, I'd say you probably got 40 to 50 teeth, carbide teeth. And they've got like inserts or whatever you call them that come off and you can replace and sharpen. And basically this thing turns really fast, and it grinds up trees and brush and debris and all kind of stuff. But you see a lot of this going on now. It's been popular the last few years because it's just easier to do this and grind everything up instead of taking all the trees down, having to haul them off or burn them or whatever. But it also depends on what you're using the land for. If you're going to be building on the land, this is not what you want to be doing, because you still have to get all the stumps and stuff up, and stumps and stuff up, and this doesn't do a very good job of that. This just grinds everything. Basically it makes mulch. So it's like you had a bunch of trees and then you mulch them all down. It looks like you have a mulch flower bed. Kind of pieces like this, but even smaller sometimes, depending on how many times you go over them. How much you have like the garden stuff down, because this thing here actually goes down and closes, so it allows the stuff to re-shred. But kind of looks like that. So we actually had some of this done at my house. We bought it 4 or 5 years ago, and had I known what I was trying to do, I probably wouldn't have done it, but it's okay. It turned out fine. But like I said, it just depends what you're using the land for. So the drum has pieces here. It has some bearings that mount and mount that too, and then that all comes out. And basically what we're doing, we've done 3 of these I think now over the past year or so, year and a half. 2 of them for the same guy, 1 for another guy from Virginia, and then this one is for a different customer as well. So they have a liner in here, and you see these teeth, they call them breaker bars. That basically helps break up the material. And it seems like this is the way it comes from the factory. It seems that it does better if you don't have both sets in. So these are in better shape up here. So what we're gonna do is take these out, cut these off. They'll go back down here, and these will get scrapped because they're kind of worn out. You can see a big difference how these are worn here. They were flat on the edge, just a little bit of wear there, but not near as much. So we'll shift all these down, but we have a liner that basically we roll to fit this 12-inch radius. And so basically we'll start here. We'll have a piece of flat bar that we weld in, and then we'll have that curved piece here, which is the liner, and it'll come to here, and then we'll actually replace this whole bottom piece too. So the worst part is getting this cut out. A lot of this whole section is already gone, but what I'm going to do is probably go ahead and cut across here, try to cut these sides down. But I want to measure across here again. I measured it one time, it was 61 and 11/16. Yeah, 61 and 11/16. I'm gonna measure that again, because what I'll do is I'll put a piece, once I get this cut out, I'll put a piece of square tubing or something here to hold this. That way when we put the liner in and do the welding, hopefully we can spread the heat out and not warp these in. The very first one we did, we had a little issue, and we had to go back and heat it and kind of push them out, but it wasn't bad. But the problem is this drum has to spin freely. So when the machine's not running, no hydraulics going, you should be able to push this drum and spin it because it's setting on bearings. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna go ahead and get this out. We still don't have the liner made. It's too wide for our brakes, so we're not able to make it. But we've got somebody making that for us out of some 3/8 plate, and then we'll do the flat bar here and the piece of flat bar across the bottom. So that usually is the easy part, putting it back together. The hard part is getting all this cut out, get these cut out, get these off, save these, and then the easy part's putting it back together. So we're gonna try to take the plasma cutter and cut that. That's easy. You gotta be careful not to light all that on fire. and then try to take it and switch the mode and try to wash that weld off. If nothing else, we can maybe take a cutoff wheel or something, but basically you can see through it. It's already eaten. This is already gone. It should look like this all the way across, but problem is you can't see everything, especially this time of year where everything's grown up and you're running over stuff, man. He came in one time, one of the guys we do these for, and he had ran over an old steel wheel and it had rammed it up inside, and we had to take a torch and literally cut it out piece by piece because there's not much room here at all, and basically had to torch it out and cut it out piece by piece to get it unjammed. So anyway, we'll see if we can get this cut out and get it cleaned up. Basically want to just cut through. You're not cutting through, you're gouging, basically washing the weld out and some of the material until it breaks through. You can see the liner right there on the other side. You can see that, well, not the liner, that's the backing plate, the frame. So what I want to do is avoid cutting that. Kind of hard to see. You see it kind of smoking back here, and you see all this debris. So what we're trying to avoid is any fires. So you see this back plate here, that's what we're trying not to cut through. We do not want to cut it. Got hydraulic lines, all kind of stuff. So far that looks good. Well, she's in there. Had to trim it twice. Cut about 2 inches off the first time and 3/4 the second time. Reason was I had it good up here, but it was just hanging a little too low on the bottom. So originally, I think they just bend it and make this all one piece, but it's kind of thin. It's only probably 3/16 material, if that. It's really hard to tell because it's so worn. I'd say it's probably around 3/16, but so we do it in 3 pieces. We do this piece, which you can tell that takes the brunt of everything, and this piece here really doesn't do a lot. And then there's a piece down here that it gets abused as well. So I still got to trim a couple pieces here and fix that. But what I'll do then is cut a piece of, I don't think I've got flat bar to fit that, but I'll cut a piece on the plasma table, whatever that distance there is, it's going to be in. So I'm gonna butt it right into that. So maybe about 5.5. And then what I'll do is try to make a nice corner weld, run a super hot bead. I'll get it tacked on there and super hot bead, tack it back there, stitch it, and then I'll run a super hot bead on here. Of course, it can't be non-stop. Like I said, I gotta move the heat around. This will get welded solid. We'll stitch weld this here, then put the filler piece on, and then solid weld all the way across here and all the way across the top. And then we'll go back and just clean it up with a grinding wheel. You don't have to do a whole lot because these things get abused. After about 2 weeks of running this thing, you won't even see the joints. But a lot thicker, they last a lot longer. And then we do have to go back and put the breaker bars, they call them. I've already got those off. That I gotta mark where they go, and then place those on there and stitch weld them on. But other than that, like I said, before I do anything major, I gotta put a gusset across here, get my measurement, make sure it's right, put a gusset on there to hold it, and then get this tacked on. So I got that done, so 90% sure I should be able to get this all knocked out tomorrow. So we'll see y'all in the morning. Got her flipped over already. I didn't record that, but basically what I did, I just set it, took it off these big sawhorses, the beam sawhorses, set it on the ground, hooked a strap to it, and just pulled it back and eased it down with the forks. And what that does, that allows me to see everything a lot better. And they told me I couldn't see this. You see that gap? Well, I've got this cut exactly the same all the way across. It's right at 3 inches. So what I got to do is I'm gonna cut this tack loose. I already had to do it up there. They had one side. They told me it was rolled a little tight on one end, and I think it's probably this one. So what I'll do is cut that tack, and I'll put a clamp here and squeeze that in to close up this gap. This here, I don't know if that was my fault or, well, either way it's my fault, because first thing to do is cut that loose so I can start stitch welding this up. You can see I've got my 3x3 angle up here to hold my dimension. And what I always do, there's these little triangle things. I don't know what these are, if they're like wedge blocks for tightening something, or I don't know what they do. You know what they could be? Might be for this hydraulic flap. That may be where that stops, somewhere here or something, I don't know. My dimension from here to here is what I always go by, and so I've got 61 5/8. It's dead on that, so I tack this on, put a little stitch on the back. So it's annoying because it gets in the way, but I'd rather keep this perfectly square and not have that warp in, because we have had that in the past. So we're good all the way up here. I had to cut this tack loose and squeeze this in a little bit. It's kind of just got a little bit of a twist in the plate, the new liner, and so everything else is tight, everything's good, and we've got our clearance there. You can see actually where the old one used to be. So I'm gonna cut this off, squeeze that up, tack it, and I'll start stitching that. The piece that I actually cut off of this is gonna fit perfectly here. I've just got to do that new bottom piece. You heard it pop there, so we know it's got a little bit of a pressure on it. Like I said, it's just got a little bit of a twist, just the way they've done it, but not a big deal. Now the question is whether or not we can clamp it down. What I was trying to do was leave enough hanging over to make a corner weld, and I think I still can. So when I bring this piece up, I'll stop it pretty much either right at the bottom of this plate or just a little up, and I'll make a nice corner weld, and that's why I flip this over so I can run a nice bead and see everything I'm doing. Because this whole piece right here takes an absolute beating. Eyeballs. So unfortunately, the lighting out here is bad because we're under the lean-to area, which I absolutely love this. My plan was to close this in if you've watched our previous videos, but I think what I'm actually gonna do is leave part of this open and kind of redo it eventually. Redo the roof, put up some like actual trusses, like bar joists and new tin. This sweats really bad, so maybe spray foam it or something. And leave it open, because as you can see, everything out here is I got a freaking pile. I mean, I could fill up a 5-gallon bucket with all the crap, probably 2 5-gallon buckets that came out of this, all the dirt. So that's all less dirt that's in the shop, so the shop can stay cleaner. So we have a dirty area, so all the plasma cutting out here, all the grinding and wire wheeling does, you know, do it out here where you've got a lot more ventilation, better for your health and breathing, so you're not breathing so much in, and also keeps the shop clean. So that's where it's at now. I was gonna move it in to weld it, but I was like, yeah, just leave it out here. So let's stitch weld. Let's just get a few tacks on it. Like I said, we're really going to have to focus on moving the heat around, even though we've got this brace on here. You've got about there's some bracing on the back, but you've got 18 inches from the liner to the outside of this frame. And there's not a lot. There's some plates back here, but the way they are and they're thin, they're not really doing a lot as far as structural for that. So if you're not careful, this will want to pinch in on both sides. We're really going to have to spread that heat out. What we'll do is jump around. We'll do like a weld here and here, jump up here, here, do some stitches here, let it cool while we're grinding this a little bit. We got to get this cut off. So while we're letting it cool, we'll come down here and grind these, prep this area, get this piece up here. Once we get this stitched and prepped, once this piece I know is good, then I'll start putting this piece and this piece in. We've got to do a little more grinding down here, like I said, to prep that. As you can see, that one's all wrapped up. All I got left is this bar, but I'm letting this cool off. I got to run a couple errands, so I'm gonna leave it on there. It's probably cooled off by now because I've been in there working on the 2 skids. I'll show you those in a second. They mount over here on the sides. But I'm gonna leave this bar on for a little bit and hope and pray that thing didn't pull. I spread out and moved the heat. These are called breaker bars here. Yeah, I don't think it's got any heat to it. It's been sitting for a few minutes, but I'm gonna leave it. And basically the drum turns like this, so it shoved this stuff up in here and it helps break it up and shred it better. And then you can open and close this flap hydraulically. But there you go, all 3/8 plate formed. Use the drop from the form piece because they made it a little long in order to break it, step break it, and then a piece of this 3/8 5.5 by 62 that I cut on the plasma table. Slid that in there and ended up buttoning up pretty dang good. It's off a little bit down here, but it gets kind of wonky because this is got a little twist to it. And, I didn't even measure to see if it's all perfectly square, so I'm sure it's not as far as the actual frame of the machine. So, but there's another one done. I'm gonna leave it laying just like that for a few minutes, and then we'll cut that piece of angle off. But got these on, basically same thing, just 3/8 plate, had it formed, make a new skid for these runners, and this is what sets on the ground. I think these have had skids put on before. I don't think we did them, but I think there's some skids because they were worn as crap. That's the big one. Like I said, I don't know which side they go on. I didn't take them apart, but that's that one, and then this is a small one sitting over here cooling off. So I'll leave them and go run some errands. So that's it for that. That's the mulching head. Like I said, this one mounts on a skid steer, and they make them all different sizes, different kinds, different machines, but they're very popular, but they're also very expensive to have work done, just because of the parts and stuff are so expensive to keep them up and running, so they charge quite a bit. But anyway, there's a place and time for it, and this one's just about done, so we'll come back, cut that off, and load her up. Hope y'all have an awesome day. We'll catch you on the next video.